all right. Hey, welcome back again. This your homie, Mizzle to the Jizzle. Once again, here to host Radio 22's Talk 22. The show hosted by me, Mizzle to the Jizzle, bringing you to the conversation that you want to talk about, bringing it to you with nothing but the real. Once again, we back. We want to appreciate everybody who came through, listened to our last conversation, and we talked about the differences between hip hop with the South, and talked about the East Coast and the ramifications between the two of them. That the South not getting no love and vice versa. So, we do appreciate everybody that came to join us on that conversation. But beyond that point, we're gonna go move on to the next conversation. And once again, I was rambling through the internet, cruising as I do, and I came to come across somebody I feel like I kind of respected in the hip hop genre, at least at one time. The homie Kanye West. Came across a lot of conversation with him talking about that he wanted to go run for president, and he went on to try to promote his presidency, and went and had a rally. And I guess in that rally, he had some words and things that he said that really, I guess at the time, it made me want to scratch my head and be like, what is going on with this man? So the conversation kind of came to me, and, we know that he's going through the things with the mental health, and, basically we came here today and we want to talk about it. So today in that conversation, I've got a couple of my homies here to bring the agenda with me. And today I got one of my guests here from the Madison area, an artist by the name of Odalo. Odalo, say what's up to the people. Unmute your mic, please.
Oh, sorry about that. Yes, indeed. Peace and love, everybody. Odalo Free in the Minds. Check it out when you get a chance. Also on Instagram as well. Just find www.freeintheminds.com. Art, education, children's books, animation.
Okay, thank you. Out of the Milwaukee area, I got rapper, the homie Main Lingo. Say what's up, man.
How y'all doing, man? It's Main Lingo 414. Main Lingo 414 Instagram. I like your boy. We got great content, a lot of funny stuff, great music coming up. Check us out.
Okay, that's what's up. And also out of the Iowa, Dubuque area, we got the homie LJ is here. LJ, say what's up to the people.
Hey.
What's up, people? How you guys doing? Yeah. So, I don't know whether he wants what type of formal introductions we're doing, but mental health counselor in this area here. So, yeah, like mental health,
He's a health counselor that deals with mental health and such. So, he's also here to help give us great viewpoint and stuff on the medical end. So, we thank him for coming to join us as well. With that being said, I'm gonna bring out the first question. The first question I'm gonna bring to everybody is Kanye crazy, or is he on point, or is he just trying to sell albums? A lot of people say he comes crazy when he's trying to sell his records. So with that being said, I'm gonna start off with the homie Mang Lingo. What do you think? Is Kanye crazy?
Crazy can be identified in a lot of different ways. Now, in Kanye artistic, people that are artistic like that are considered super geniuses. They do seem to, be considered slightly crazy or a little off-brand or something like that because they're very eccentric. And Kanye is probably one of the most eccentric people in music and in pop culture, period, today. Now, crazy genius, I think that's what you can call Kanye West, because of all of this stuff that goes on, you normally do kick it off around the time that he has a project coming or one of his artists has a project coming. So a lot of the stuff that he does seems to be a little bit more strategic as opposed to him just jumping on Twitter and ranting or whatever. So I think that he might be, you can consider him crazy, but like crazy like a fox, so to speak, in my eyes.
Okay, so he's a little slick with it, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the homie LJ. LJ, is he for real? Is he trying to just sell something.
You know, it's one of those things where you know, like I said, I agree with Maine to a degree. Like you're either extremely smart or extremely stupid. You never heard that quote before? So it just obviously, he's strategic when he comes out and he makes bold moves. It appears that he is strategic. Something's always coming out after he does it. So either he's got a great team behind him that knows how to capitalize off of his crazy comments, or he himself has legitimately got a legit strategy that every time I come out with something, I'm going to try to spark energy on the internet, kind of ish. So when I looked at some of his videos, he definitely comes across, abnormal. So to say the least, with the last emotional rant, I mean, that seemed like someone tried to be genuinely artistically expressive, but one of the criticisms about him being artistic and creative and emotional is that sometimes it's not accurate. And when you're not, and when you become across emotional and it lacks context and it lacks accuracy, more specifically context,
Right.
because anybody can wage a good argument about whether they're right or wrong, so long as they got good context and depth in their conversation. And when it comes to his music, he's got great depth, he's got great articulation. But when it comes to other things, he presumes to. I think in his head he presumes to think that because he's got the same energy over here, that is transferable in how he communicates about politics or other personal issues. So,
Okay.
So yes and no.
I feel you on that. I'm gonna go to the homie Odalo. Yep. The way we looking at it, a lot of times he does these things. He comes off the TMZ and say the crazy stuff about slavery being a choice. He's coming off saying the different stuff he's saying. And we, a lot of times it's like paired around a time where he's trying to get his album off. Is this all just for the cameras, or you really feel this man is a lunatic?
All right, this is where I see it, man. Like what the brothers were saying just a moment ago, like I feel that. Like in action, I think that's what he's doing, right? Like those moves, like, yeah, he's got the album, he's promoting for the album, he's on this presidential campaign, so to speak, you know what I'm saying? Had a moment in that, let a little leak out. We got to see a little glimpse. Now, what I think is happening, really what's going on, I think he's in a space, man. I honestly think he's in a space, man. Like right now, like crazy, that's like relative, you know what I'm saying? Like that and what is that even? It's subjective, you know what I mean? At the same time, so that's neither here nor there. As far as what he's really dealing with, I think he's dealing with something. He's in a space within himself, not necessarily clear on where he's at, not necessarily even clear on what he's even feeling, not even having the space and probably even time to process it all. I think he's, man, and a lot of pressure. And in the process of it, trying to create, man, he's an artist, right? And he's always been an artist and a genius too at that. And in that level, there's a tipping point, man. It's a fine line that you got to line. Like, you got to stay grounded. You got to have something that roots you. And at first, it was that Jesus walks. He was in the scriptures at first. And somewhere he got off, or maybe whether he got on, whether he got off, but the message seemed to mirage between light and dark, between whether he was really about this scripture talk or if he's like walking this other type of lifestyle, and you can't play with that. Like, that's something that you just can't play with. Spirit, you can't play with. Like, and it's going to have repercussions on a real level. So what might even be talked in one way, it's going to show out in time. So when he comes out with that Jesus walks and he comes out with that line talking about I sold my soul for a happy meal, it was a crappy deal or whatever, like, you plan. And then you're talking about coming back again with all this gospel talk, and then you're coming in, like the moves are too, like you said, lack of context. You know what I'm saying? Like, people aren't clear. And when you're in charge of that many people, like influence people, have influence over that many people, are a part of that. So I think the space that he's in, whether you want to be accountable or not, whether society holds you accountable or not, life is going to hold you accountable for that. Like, so it's going to be like just universal laws. Things that you just going to do, like, it's going to come back to you. You reap what you sow. So I think he's in a space where the seeds that have sown have taken root. And some of the stuff isn't necessarily prosperous. Some of the stuff is good. Some of the stuff is like wheats and tares. You know what I mean? So it's like he's in a space, man, and he's got to tend that garden. And for him to tend that, he's gonna have to just take a time out for him, sit down, and take the cameras away from him, get the cameras out of his face, get the mic out of his face, and let him just sit there. Be creative. Do all that all you want to do. But right now, maybe not even put any projects out. Just work on self and find yourself through your art if you have to. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a beautiful place. But I think he's just in that space, man.
Okay. That being said, I guess one of the other things I learned in that time was that he was running for president or planning to run for president. That in itself is kind of like
album promo.
Yeah, that right there is crazy, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go on to the next question with that and bring that right back to you, Adalo.
Yes.
Should we have someone diagnosed with mental illness on the ballot as president of the United States?
That's a deep question.
I mean, some would say we might have some mental people already on the ballot, but
you see the president?
Office as well, as well as in office. So yeah, man. So when we look at that, we've already had this. Yes. So I'm thinking it's already in action. It's already in play even. People with mental illness, you know, and so yeah.
But do you feel we should have somebody who's already been diagnosed?
Oh, diagnosed?
As Kanye has been diagnosed.
Okay, now diagnosed, and they're currently still not sharp with it, or they diagnose and then they build and they're back building, like they're moving forward in life. Like if they're moving forward in life, I'm all with it. Like if they're moving forward in life, like they're not you know what I'm saying, on it, and they moving forward and they got conscious and they're on it and they got the principles and they're on it and they got the moves and they're on it, and they got the team and they're on it. I'm with it. I'm all with it. You know what I'm saying? It's just you got to be on it. So I'm with it. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Manglingo, do you believe we should have somebody who's been medically diagnosed as having a mental illness? Should they be qualified as a possible candidate on the presidency of the United States?
Seems that we don't necessarily know any other presidents or any other cabinet members that have been diagnosed with mental health. We really can't necessarily disqualify, because who's to say that we haven't already endured those type of situations? And in my eyes, if George W. Bush can be the president, Kanye West can be the president of the United States of America.
Man.
Okay.
That's just my personal opinion. If we can survive that and get through that, the stuff that Kanye West is talking and doing would be, pretty minute compared to what we've already survived as far as presidential candidates in our, history. So
Okay.
I would say, since we really don't know, and who's to say that anybody hasn't been diagnosed or was dealing with or is dealing with, mental health issues, we really can't necessarily disqualify them just because of that. Now, we could really use that, and in politics and in media in general, that probably would be used to downplay or, disregard any statements that he may make, even if they weren't necessarily outlandish or outrageous. But I think outside of media and just personal opinion, you really couldn't disqualify somebody from that.
True.
Okay. LJ, we're gonna go to you. You know so much that you deal with people with mental health issues and whatnot with your occupation. Do you believe that with all that we have going on, with all the different issues of coronavirus, all the different stuff with racial tensions, with all the different stuff that we have in the world that we have right now in 2020, should we be having anybody with a diagnosed mental illness on the ballot for the United States presidency?
Well, we already have, you know, in reality. I'm pretty sure there's presidents throughout history. I mean, one of them noteworthy, you know, they say that Abraham Lincoln himself suffered from severe depression. Heck, even Martin Luther King suffered from severe depression. Did that make him inadequate of leading? And so just because somebody has a severe mental health issue does not mean that they're not capable of doing activities. And I think there's a huge thing. I mean, it's a great question because it brings up the point about the huge stigma around mental health. A lot of people suffer from mental health. A lot of people suffer from undiagnosed mental health. You know, I mean, and a lot of people are able to adapt and cope with it. Really, a mental health illness doesn't get diagnosed really until there is an extreme dysfunctional natural occurrence happening in somebody's lifestyle. And then somebody goes to a mental health counselor, they get assessed for a diagnosis. But that diagnosis, a person can be bipolar their whole life, truth be told, and not even know it. It's only when the symptoms create such a distress in their lives. And so the question that I have with regards to it is the severity of the effects of the severity of the illness. Because a person could be fully functional and have a lot of the major and common diagnoses that are prevalent across most Americans, which include anxiety, depression. Bipolar is a major, you know, is a major diagnosis that a lot of people have. If they don't have it as a clear, distinct diagnosis, they definitely got severe. They definitely have some symptoms, some strong symptoms related to bipolar. You know, ADHD, all those things do not make a person not capable of something. It's only when that mental health disorder creates an obvious distressful pattern in a person's life. And so the question that I would have is outside of mental health disorder, if a person is living a destructive life and has destructive patterns in their life, should they be elected in an official position, right? Because you can have those disorders, and if you're taking proper medication, getting proper care, and and it's being properly dealt with, then then you're very much a functional. Makes you very much. And truth be told, a lot of successful people. I mean, this just comes from my background. You know, in my experience, a lot of successful people have mental health issues.
That's true.
You know, and one of the things, and I'll just add to this. I know I'm not trying to go too far with it, but one of the things I hope we talk about is the idea that some of this stuff is not just a mental health diagnosis. There's a stigma. There's a bit of a stigma with it. Some of this stuff, you know, Kanye West may benefit from being bipolar. You know, just as much as he might have dysfunctional and distressful patterns as relates to bipolar, but it may be because he's bipolar, it may make him who he is. And so that's I think that's one of the things that he argued a while back ago when he had originally gotten seen or whatever. You know, this idea that no, this is who I am.
Right.
But it's irregularities or dysfunctional pieces make it bipolar. But its functional pieces may make me a great artist. And I say that about a lot of stuff. People with high anxiety end up being the most highly functional individuals.
Yes.
And there are top performers who have extreme anxiety, but that same energy used in a business setting makes them flawless leaders. And so that's just something to keep in context as we're talking about mental health, particularly Kanye West thing here. But yeah.
Okay. No, thank you for bringing that, and I definitely agree with your viewpoints. I want to say that brings me to the next question is, you know, there was a lot of conversation I saw on the internet also that kind of related to this, where they talked about, you know, they felt like with all the ADHD and all the different anxiety and all that different stuff like you were mentioning, LJ, that a lot of times they feel like our medical professionals like to over-medicate stuff, where they feel like a lot of times that's what brought on all these patients who are hooked on Ritalin and Oxycontin and all these different pain medicines and stuff like that. So I guess what brings my next question is, do you believe medication is the proper remedy for people with mental illness in all cases? I'm going to go to you, Manglingo.
Not at all.
Okay. Oh, let me see. Okay. With that being said, pharmaceuticals, I would say no. Not all the time you can treat mental health with pharmaceutical drugs. More times than not, from what I understand and from what I listen when I watch the commercials and stuff on TV, there's a lot of harm that's coming from those same pharmaceutical drugs that are being used to medicate people. And with that being said, in the business mind, the pharmacy industry is a multi-billion dollar industry. So at some point, and in some places, I know for a fact that there's somebody that's goosing it to go ahead and make this money because this is what it's about here in America. Now, for me, being around and seeing different people and different aspects of how people cope or deal with mental health, whether it is from prescription medication, whether it is from medical marijuana, anything, different substances like that. I feel like there's several different ways that you can deal with mental health issues or mental health distress or anything like that. And it really is just a person by person type of situation because there's some people that really could just sit down and talk to somebody and they probably would never have to take a pill or any type of medication and they can get through their things. Where there are some people that may be a little bit more severe or they may have to take some type of medication to keep them from having those certain type of thoughts or those certain type of behavioral patterns and stuff. So I think it really just depends on the person. But with the pharmaceutical company being as big a business as it is, they tend to just lean towards that because that's where they can start whacking you over the head with those drug costs. So in my eyes, that's what I think.
Okay. LJ, I'm gonna go back to you. One of the things that we learned with that is that Kanye West decided to come off of his medications that his doctors prescribed. He felt like it was clouding his brain and not letting him have certain clarity in this world, and he feels like it was just confusing him too much. Do you believe that medication is the answer when it comes to people of mental illness?
The tough question. I'm going to give a broader, more global type of perspective, and then I'm going to narrow it down to give some perspective.
Okay.
So I went to a conference. I used to do substance abuse counseling about a year and a half, and went to one of my work conferences, and I got a bit vexed in my spirit. I'm gonna try to make this as short as possible. Just bear with me. It alludes to a good point. We talk about medication.
Okay.
One of presentation, she talks about medication with regards to particular substance abuse disorder, like meth. I think at the time meth was on high rise. It probably still is in some areas. Anyways, one of the questions I had with regards to medication that she could not answer is why isn't there a universal global standard as regards to how we prescribe medication? It's a great question. A question that nobody really asks.
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is that there isn't. That ought to get under your skin a little bit. There is no global standard as to how people prescribe medication towards individuals with the exact same diagnosis.
Wow.
So when we talk about medication, we talk about medication as a necessity when we haven't really done the research on whether it's actually a necessity.
Right.
Like Main Lingo was saying, it is an industry. We're in this medical industry. Medical industry's job is to make lots of money off of
sales,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Fear of mental health and fear of the consequences. When you feel trapped in a corner, right? When you get to a point where you got ADHD, I see African American kids who've been improperly diagnosed with ADHD when they really had trauma-like symptoms, but because their behavior was so severe and the social context in which they were in, they're almost in a corner. They almost had to take ADHD medication in order to survive in their environment. The mother working full time cannot tend to those needs like they should. There is so I hope I ain't. I try to get lost in sauce here, but medication on a local level is important because it's a necessary evil, but it is an evil. I don't think it's an absolute. When I talk to my clients, medication is the last thing we talk about. It is the break the glass escape. In other words, if you find yourself in a situation where none of your coping techniques, none of your healthy coping techniques are working, then rather than stay stuck, get medication and then wean off of it. It's a little bit different when you deal with people with bipolar, because that medication that they take, you almost have to be weaned off it, even if you stop using it. That is very potent medication in order to help individuals with bipolar disorder. That makes sense? They take that lithium as well as some other substances that you cannot, if you stop taking those substances cold turkey, you'll die. So and for a person with bipolar who has severe symptoms, in other words, when I say severe symptoms, we're talking about what's happening to them in their social and functional life is completely disrupted. It's almost a necessity. Whether a person should be weaned off of bipolar medication. Now, I believe a person can be weaned off of depression and anxiety medication, and I believe a person should go back and forth between anxiety and depression medication, because once you feel better, once your environment may give you a bit of more resiliency to cope in your environment. You may find you may not even need the medication as far as depression and anxiety. But bipolar is a tricky one. It is not something to be played with, because there are harmful effects for A, decreasing use, and B, people who are clinically diagnosed with bipolar, a lot of the time they actually need that medication to survive. It is a necessary evil. It is not necessarily necessary, but it is when your when your situation may warrant it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
I got you. Okay. Odalo.
Yeah.
The way that we looking at it, with Kanye deciding to take himself off, I don't know if he weaned or cold turkey, but he took himself off the medication. Do you believe that's something that one should do, or do you believe that medication is more of a proper necessity to people who may be suffering these things?
I would agree. I would agree with exactly what Larry was saying, what LJ was saying. I totally agree with what he was saying with that, man. It's like, and for the reasons why I would agree with that, it's just like, he pointed them all out. Like, every situation is different. And then by not having that universal code universally, like throughout the globe, probably because of a lot of things he pointed out, the environment, the atmosphere in which they're growing up in, like the foods that they're eating, like, you know what I mean? The stuff that they choose for entertainment, like all that stuff kind of, not just, it affects the mind, and the mind affects the body. It affects the emotions, it affects all that. Like, a person could think themselves into illness, could think themselves sick. Like me, myself, I wrestle with anxiety. And that's like, and I always had anxiety, but it's just like, as I got older, it became more intense. It was crazy. And then it got to a point where it's like, it teed off, and it's like, it's still there. I know the waves when it's coming. I know the levels and scales that it exists within. And it's like, and I know even the atmospheres that create that situation, right? So I've been watching myself through the years and learning it through the years. So I see what he's saying with all of that. So it's like now, but like he was saying, no medication, you know what I mean? Like, as far as I can. Now, once they introduce CBD into the game, and the flower, the bud, not the tinctures, not the teas and all that, and it probably works for other people, but not for me. The flower, that was, man, first exhale, anxiety was down. Second exhale, anxiety is gone. And I was like, yo, this is serious. But you can't do it all the time. And you can't, and like in situations, you can't always do that. So my pre-method was just sit it through. Just sit it through, breathe it out, let it go. Because I have extreme anxieties. And it's like, especially when it's like a presentation or speaking or a showing or like anything that involves where I'm part of the center of the attention, it gets intense. So I just usually just lean towards the man, just focus in, calm down, just thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God. And I say that, not like that fast, but take my time and commit to each word. And that helps me through, and that grounds me. And that's been my core, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, everybody has their mantra. Like some folks can do it with a mantra, and you can get that mantra from sitting with yourself, or like the brother Main Lingo was talking about, sitting down with somebody. And you can sit down with somebody, and sometimes that's all you need. Just hear it a certain way. It could be something that somebody's been saying for years. Your parents could have been saying it for years, or your friend. But when you hear it from one of the homies or a stranger, and the way they say it, it's like it resonated somehow, some way. But then again, at the same time, when it's your time. So it's like sometimes you got to go through a certain situation, and you have that, oh man, I see now why, because you had to go through all the boxes, check off. Was it this? Was it that? Was it this? Is it that? Self-discovery. You got to go through the process of self-discovery. And as you go through the process of self-discovery, this is just life. As we go through life and we go through the process of self-discovery, we start to realize what are our tics, what are our angst, what are our scars, like what are the things that have been with us all our lives, but it just took time for it to take surface. You know what I mean? Like every seed. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it takes time for, you know what I'm saying, to see what the tree becomes and the scars on the fruit that it produces. All the fruit is going to be nice and luscious. Sometimes it's going to produce some crazy stuff, sometimes with worms in it, but that's part of that tree also. And you don't take all the tree, you don't throw it out, and you take the apples that do work, and you make apple pie and juice with that. But the ones that don't, you know what I'm saying, those have a place too. You can make some wine with that. But so it's like you got to figure out how to use what you got and make it to the best. So my anxiety usually, I wanted to go back to real quick, as my anxiety fuels my focus, man. It's like it'll pull me out of a situation, make me be with myself, focusing on what it is going on, and then when I re-engage into the situation, I'm a better person. I'm a solider person. I understand. I can re-engage. You know what I mean? Like you're always getting better if you're working on yourself, man. So even if it's just 5 seconds later, 10 seconds later, your thoughts get better, your actions get better. Your confidence is better, and it's not that you won't repeat that action again, not that you won't feel anxiety again when you get to that space, but you know how to handle it, and it may get less intense. But I don't know. I just feel like you just got to go through it, man. It's your fingerprint, and you got to live with it, whatever it is, and you find the ways to get with it. But medication, man, real quick, I'll touch on that. It does help. It does, if you need it. If you need it. And sometimes you got to figure out if you need it. Me, I'm always like that's the last option. You know what I mean? Like fighting is going to be my last option. I'd rather talk it out. But if it comes down to it, I got to do that, and that's where it goes down to, then that's what we got to do, and there's no getting away from it. Medication is like that. It's like depending on the battle. If you got to bring that shield and that sword out, then hit that CBD. You know what I mean? But if you don't need to, you know, chill.
Okay, that's what's up. CBD, as we've seen, that has been an effective method for a lot of people in terms of pain medicines and such, and it has had a lot of benefits. What are you saying? Go ahead, Dallo.
I just learned real quick on the CBD that, okay, so like the THC, both of them work. But the THC will like speed your heart up. The CBD slows it down. And that's where I realized that CBD helps with the anxiety. It get down. THC can help with the creativity, turn it up. You know what I mean? But when you get in that anxiety and it's like, yo, you got to chill, CBD, man, for those that engage.
Okay. No, duly noted. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next question. What the next question is, so he went on his rant at his political campaign rally, and I say that politically campaign rally. I'm gonna say that with quotes. With that being said, he had some stuff that he said about a huge historical figure, the Queen Harriet Tubman, and I kind of want to get into that a little bit. With that being said, I'm going to go right back to you, Odalo.
Yeah.
With what he said about Harriet Tubman, what he said, for those of you that don't know, he said that Harriet Tubman did not free the slaves. She just basically brought the slaves from the South to work for other white people in the North. With what he said, in the context of what he said, do you believe Was he wrong
Very,
or
very,
was it or
very
was
wrong.
he wrong?
We can't let
Yeah,
him.
see, it's a perspective thing.
So,
Can't let him.
Odalo, I'm coming to you first. Do you believe he was wrong or was he wrong?
Talking about me?
Yeah, I'm coming to
Yeah,
you.
man, he was definitely wrong, but we can't let that slide. Slavery and working, like that's like two oxymorons right there. Slavery, cats ain't getting paid, cats are getting beat, cats are getting like shut down. It's over with. Like there's your baby's getting sold from you, your family's getting ripped from you. You have no control over nothing. Like you're done. Versus working for other people, like you got your freedom. You got like you're in a different space. You're not getting your family ripped away from you like that. Like you got to figure it out. And we had to figure it out, and we had to go through that. Like we still figuring it out and still going through that. Like, but we ain't gonna sit up here and say we like our babies are getting like okay locked up. Situations like this, okay, I understand that, but even in prison, 10 cents an hour. You know what I'm saying? Like that's still more than slaves was getting paid, and that's slave labor beyond. Like, and I'm like crazy, but they were still getting paid more than slaves. So no. We ain't gonna sit up here and say that he did that. No, he didn't do that. He definitely did not do that. That was an injustice, a disservice to our ancestor, a disservice. And with that being said, put her on that 20 and quit playing. Quit playing. That being said,
I agree with that too. Lingo, I'm coming to you next. Do you believe what Kanye said about Harriet Tubman? Was that all the way off, or did he have maybe some truth behind what he said?
Now, my perspective is when you say things, when you talk about certain people in our American history, it triggers folks. So if you're not bigging them up like a Harriet Tubman or Martin Luther King Jr., ain't nobody going around with nothing that you say about them because they hold them in such high esteem because that's part of our American history, or so to speak. Now, what I took from that was he was saying that even though she took slaves from the South, from slavery, she basically took them into a different form of slavery. So even though they're getting paid, they still having to come and work for a white man or something to that effect. I didn't think it was like she went from Southern slaves to necessarily just Northern slaves because it wasn't really slavery like that up here in those times. That was a Southern thing. So what I took from it was that he was saying that they went from just that lynch of a brother slave to what we would call today like a corporate slave, so to speak. But like I said, when you were making statements that trigger the community, they're not really going to even take the time to analyze anything you're saying. All that we hear is somebody that we hold in high esteem, and we don't have that many people to hold in high esteem in our American history. You throwing dirt on their name, and ain't nobody finna hear none of that. Because like I said, we already void of those American heroes as it is. So the few that we do have that is universally recognized as Black excellence, nobody gonna listen, ain't trying to hear you say nothing negative about their name. But I don't think he was completely off base. I just think that a lot of what he is trying to say gets kind of lost in him going into what you would call like rant mode, or when he's just saying things, it seems more outrageous when you first hear it in the shock value. But when you break it down, it seems like it's supposed to make sense. But then when it's the whole, oh, that's Kanye West, he's crazy. Then you kind of just slide it to the side because it's Kanye being Kanye, so to speak. So I think that there's always some truth, even from a fool. So even if what he's saying comes across as outrageous, I'm pretty sure you can dive in and find just a small bit of truth, or even what he actually was trying to bring across, which is they're going from one form of slavery, which is complete and total black enslavement, to going up north and going to work for white men. You were basically from the same ancestors or coming from the same boat that the slaves from the slave owners from the South came from. So I think that there's some information in a lot of things that Kanye West says with those type of things, especially like with the Harriet Tubman thing. But I feel like when you mention people's names like that, it becomes a trigger. So you're never gonna win anybody over in that particular way. So they're not gonna listen to anything that you have to say anyway.
Okay. LJ, I'm coming to you next here with that. Where we look at it, Kanye say a lot of outrageous things. Things be off the wall with some of the stuff that he said. Huge news clips every time he speaks, basically. Be that, with the whole slavery is a choice, be that Harriet Tubman brought blacks to work for other white people, be that, half the stuff that he say. Do you believe that he's all the way wrong when he speaks about these things, or is it like he says he just chooses his words incorrectly?
Yeah, I don't know whether he's all the way wrong. If you were to interview a Black Republican on history, you might find similar language, if that makes any sense, to what Kanye West is saying, in my personal opinion. So I don't take it as far left. And then when you understand a person, I mean, it's one thing to take a person. Unfortunately, he doesn't. When you say something openly, you have to understand that you don't give, if you don't say it with the proper depth and context, you leave a lot of empty holes for people to stereotype you and to take what you're saying at face value. And if you look at his ideology with regards to his talk about slaves, as one of his most memorable comments that I thought was the most relatable to me as an African American male is when he was getting into this debate with who was interviewing him, and he said a comment. He said, "We all slaves." You get what I'm saying? And you have a person who has that mentality that says we have not gotten out of mental slavery. You may be able to understand the context in which he was talking about. That just because we went out of physical slavery, heck, mental slavery did way more damage. You want to ask my personal opinion? Than physical slavery, than the act of slavery itself. For the cage to be open and for you still not to walk out of it is the worst kind of slavery, in my personal opinion. And so, I felt it from that perspective when he has the idea that we are all sort of trapped in our own minds in this American dream. You even see it when you listen to his earliest lyrics. What's one of my favorite songs? Is it All Falls Down?
It all falls down.
He alludes to that. He alludes to the connection between being Black and materialism,
Sure.
which has been our hugest form of slavery. You want to ask my personal opinion, which has stopped a lot of us from investing our monies in the right areas that would cause our communities to succeed. I get it. And even if you ask a Black Muslim, they may argue that the African American is no far better than when he first got free.
Wow.
Economically. Right? No, seriously. If you ask a Muslim brother, they will tell you the numbers don't lie. We're not in a better situation than our ancestors 300 years ago. As a matter of fact, they were in a better situation just coming out of slavery. So looking at giving context and depth to what he's talking about with regards to his own ideology, that we all slaves to something, right? That part makes what he said makes sense. Does that make sense? But it's one of those things. It's like when you say the first thing that's coming out, it's one of those things where Kanye West has all the depth in his head, but then when he say it out, I'm pretty sure he'd be like, "Man, I didn't mean to say it like that." you know what I'm saying? He like, he's just creative genius. He's seeing colors. He's not seeing words. He's seeing colors. He's seeing the images, but he cannot. But I think sometimes he cannot. And he'll tell. He said in previous interviews, "I see things in color. I don't see concrete things here." For somebody who thinks like that, they may not know how to phrase things in the proper context. but I commend him for his fearlessness to be able to say something and it be against popular opinion. And you always have to admire, you always have to admire somebody, because I can say something and then apologize later for my mistake, but at least be bold enough to say that I have an opinion and this is where I am in the here and the now. You get what I'm saying? That was Nick Cannon's era. Not to bring Nick Cannon in here, but a lot of what his rhetoric sounded like craziness, and then he was able to bounce back from that. But I commend anybody for at least giving their free speech and saying, no, this is how I feel right now. So in the moment, I can actually respect his boldness, because that is the Kanye West that we always knew, right? Kanye West has always been bold. He's always been the one that's breaking rules. He's always been the one that goes against popular opinion. That is the Kanye West that we love, truth be told. Anyways.
And you know what? That leads to my next question. I'm gonna go to, since LJ kind of answered, I'm gonna go back to you, man, and then go. Has Kanye always been like this, or is this just something new? I mean, we seen him, go up on stage and when he said, Beyonce had the best album, and he took that right away from Taylor Swift. We seen him when he said slavery is a choice on TMZ. We seen a lot of these like outbursts. Has he always been kind of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, or like?
I think due to his artistic nature, he's always been that eccentric type of character. Like even before he was the famous Kanye West, when he was just a dude that was doing beats for Rockefeller and cats in New York, he was that same eccentric character, and nobody really understood him. That's probably why it took him so long for him to actually get his feet into the rap game. But once people started, now you go from this guy.
I think we lost his connection. Okay. I'm gonna move on to Odalo there.
Yes.
Odalo, the way we look at it, be it the Taylor Swift incident, or be that the incident where he said George Bush don't like black people, a lot of these outbursts, things that he or him saying that he loves Trump and Trump is his daddy or whatever.
Yeah.
He's had a lot of outburst activity. I mean, some of us will never forget him and Jim Brown sitting there. That was kind of a wild scenario.
Very wild. Very wild. Awkward wild. Very
but, we need to know from you, was that just Kanye, or is that something different?
That's Kanye. That's definitely Kanye. Kanye, that's what he's good for. We know him for that. Like, you're right. All those incidents that you just pointed out, that's definitely Kanye. And at heart, I think he means well. Like, he really believes what he's saying, and he means what he's saying. He might know what he wants to say here, but like you said, it comes out wild, right? And that just shows and testifies to a lack of knowledge, a lack of understanding, a lack of wisdom even. Because wise words, actions, and deeds. If you understood what he was saying, wise words, ways, like you get, understanding comes from wisdom. Understanding comes from wisdom. Like, you can't get understanding without being wise. You have to pay attention. You have to watch. You have to see things play out, right? And at the same time, you have to live it out. You got to apply what you just learned, what you just observed, what you just took in. You apply that. You apply that wisely, and then you understand what you did. You come away with that wisdom, with understanding, like, okay, I understand what I just did. I understand how it can be beneficial. I can understand how I can use it more. I can understand what the effects are. Like, you come out with an understanding through application, wise application. What shows me what he's doing by him saying this stuff and constantly saying this stuff and constantly finding himself in this hot water is he's not doing the wisdom. He's not understanding what's going down. He's not taking the time to go back and to do the self-work, like kind of was saying before. So it's like he means well, but that's largely him. He lacks, and that's what I'm saying. He doesn't need to be in front of the camera. He needs to get an understanding and really quit just dropping what he thinks and get an understanding and speak what you understand, not just what you feel. Because slavery, because if that's what he was saying, like what you guys were breaking down, how you were breaking it down, how the other brothers were breaking it down, if he was saying that, he would be able to articulate that. But he didn't say that. He said, took him from slavery to work for other people. Like, he's left out all of that breakdown in between. So it's like he doesn't understand even what he's saying, man. Like he doesn't understand the effects of what he's saying, and he doesn't even take the time to even look at it because he's too arrogant. He's not looking at it like, oh man, I just offended these people. I just turned these. Oh, I just shut these people down this long. Like he's not looking at that. So it's like what he's dealing with is everything that he created, and so it's like that's what I'm saying. Like it's his fingerprint. You know what I mean? And he's not analyzing his fingerprint. He's not analyzing the walk that he's going through in life. And he's not analyzing the circle because he's repeating it. And he's not, and it's repeating it and repeating it and repeating it. So I'm just saying, like, and me, myself, personally, real quick, I just want to say, artists that I know, like, y'all are artists. Y'all are artists. And it's like, we're up in here having a profound conversation. Like, artists I know are profound. Like, he's an artist and creative genius, but he lacks that profoundness, man. He lacks understanding. He lacks wisdom, which makes me question his creativity. Like, is that really all him, or does he have really just a lot of creative minds in there working with him and making him look good? Like, I question him. My bad. But yeah, but so I'm just thinking it's my bad. Sorry about that. I just see it as that. I see it as like he's in that space. He's reaping what he's sowing. He's not taking the time to analyze. Arrogance is that part of his fingerprint. That's that battle for him. And arrogance has been that battle for him. And that's probably why it's like, you know, I mean, he's working with a lot of artists that ain't even around no more. I'm like, yo, well, like Wu-Tang, they still get down when it's time to get down. Where is Common on the projects? Like some of his best albums came from working with Common. Like I don't know. I just think that just going through it, man. And he's always been this way, but he's not taking the time to grow. So what's going to end up happening? It's sad because now he's losing people, like his friends, but lives that are in your life. And you like one of your best things in life is to let people see you grow. Like the people you love, you want the people you love to see you grow. And like take the lessons that they taught you and do good with them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and he's not gonna be able to see that if he doesn't focus, man. So I just hope that he gets the right camp around him, the right team around him, the right love support. Because when you're dealing with like anxiety and bipolar and whatever the mental issue is, you need a good support. You need love. You need love. You need
With that being said, I'm gonna move on to the next question. I'm going to you, Tremaine, Main Lingo. Since we got cut off, I'm gonna ask you. One of the things that came on the after effect was, I guess he got into it with his wife. His wife tried to, I guess, commit him to the hospital, is what they're reporting. And with that being said, you know, there's been so much talk about with these Kardashians, men that they're attached to. Do you believe there's a such thing as the Kardashian curse?
Now, if that is saying that, now, one time might be a coincidence. 2 times, okay, something going on. The 3rd time, 4th time, now we got some serious situation. Something rotten in Denmark, man. Something going on over there. I don't know exactly what it is, but if every dude that is involved in that situation, they go through a certain type of deal, something's up. Now, I don't really believe in coincidences, so I know something's got to be going on over there, man. I can't really tell you exactly what it is, if it's a witch haven, if they practicing some type of spirit or they conjuring up something. But definitely something is rotten in Denmark, man. I definitely say that. There's just too many cases, too many cases of the exact same situation with the exact same people, you know, are as the main culprits in the situation.
Facts.
Yeah, I mean,
every time I come around, your stuff gets stolen. At some point in time, you'll start figuring that it just might be me.
I mean, he literally compared himself to a horror movie about black men being brainwashed. You know, he compared himself to that movie.
Right.
So with that being said, I'm going to you, LJ. Do you believe in the Kardashian curse? I mean, we've seen Lamar Odom, his basketball career. We've seen what happened to Kim Kardashian's other basketball playing husband that she had for about a couple days. We've seen so many people who these guys were attached to, have kind of all went down the toilet. Even the dad went and totally had a sex change.
You said went down the toilet.
Yeah.
Do you believe in this curse?
I was rooting. I ain't gonna lie. I was rooting on Kanye and Kim. I was rooting on the back of my head. I was hoping that Kanye's energy is his natural energy to override and to disrupt things, disrupt that energy that seems to be a curse. Like I believe in family curses. I believe a person can put a curse on their family, and that can be passed on from generation to generation. So I don't take anything without, you know, and you know them by the fruit that they bear. So I mean, we see these things play out. One can only speculate, but you know, one of the things I always like to keep things in context with the larger universe, and that's so I'll make this comment, even though I say that is, even though Kanye may be going through his thing, I don't know whether that makes him any less of a great father. I don't know whether that makes him less of a great human being, because he has challenges. You know, his challenges are just more publicized than some of ours are. If that makes any sense. I'm pretty sure a lot of other people are going through a heck of just as much. They don't have half, quarter, percentage of the money that he has or the fame. But they're going through the exact same drama because it could very well be to a family curse. Like, I believe in that. I believe that there's a certain type of deliverance, if I could be spiritual, that a person has to have over their life in order to rid themselves of curses that have been passed on innocently from generation to generation. So.
Okay.
That's real, man. Yeah.
Do you believe in this curse? I mean, to some, I mean, yes, it's affected the brothers, but even the sister that was related to the white boy, I mean, he went in and out of rehab himself, I believe. You know,
Lamar Odom got stuck down.
Yeah.
Like, it's a few of them that went down. When you started pointing them out, I was just like, damn, he's right. A lot of cats didn't go.
There's people don't even talk about that went over there and lost their NBA careers, like Deshaun McCants that went to North Carolina. It's a bunch of people that people don't even talk about, because he had a big example. He was a pro athlete that takes off about 70 million with Tony Kardashian.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean.
Yeah. Took him down. I'm with him, man. I'm with Larry, what y'all was saying. I think it is that curse, man. But,
some would say even Reggie
Bush was saying that too. I think it is a curse, man, and I think that's real. Like, they talk about that. They say something. Psalms 58:3 talk about basically like they like it's from, like, you're born this way. Like, some cats are born that way. Like, some are born just from birth and come out just wicked like that. And that's just what it is. And some folks just get that curse on them, like generational, like you were saying, like not necessarily something they did, but something that's been on the family. So it's like, it's, man, and it could just, I don't know, man, but I'm thinking it is that curse. I'm thinking it's a curse. Like, because as you're looking at it and breaking it down, I didn't think about it until y'all brought it up, until I saw it on the questionnaire. And I was just like, you know what, man? They might be onto something with this curse thing, because brother after brother after brother, and then they're looking who they're choosing, like what type of cats they're choosing. They're taking strong brothers that they know how to get at them mentally. They know how to get their mental game. They know that something's not there. And at the same time, the thing that's not there is a hole. It's a lack of, and it could be like a lack of self. It's a lack of self thing. And a lot of times with the fellas, man, like with a lack of self, it's easy for a female to play that, man. Or just anybody that knows how to play it really can capitalize on it. But a woman just knows how to read a man, and as they know how to read a man, they just grow up men get at them from the moment they come out their mama's womb, get the double digits. Like, I have a little sister, you know what I'm saying? It's like, so women come up smart. They're wise long before our years. And it's like, so they can see, and then they can see a guy, and they can see, okay, yeah, he real nice. I'm gonna get him like this. And they know how to go at it. And it's just over with. So, and with them, like I said, and because that's a mentality to think that way. To think treacherously is a mentality. Like, to think treacherous is that in itself is a demon. That in itself is a negative spirit. To think negatively and to continuously think on that negative tangent, how I'm gonna get over, You got a spirit on you that thinks like this. That when you're thinking that, or you might even just became that devil yourself and don't even realize it. And then that's when you got to start working on self. So it's ultimately, you can't play with powers and principalities, because either you're doing God's work or you're doing devil. You can't be doing good and bad at the same time. Either you're doing good or you're doing bad. Your intentions might even be good and you're just messing it up. You know what I'm saying? But where's your heart at? You know what I mean? And at the same time, where's your heart? Where's your effort? Your effort got to be following moves with your heart. And that's going to be with your mind too, because you're going to see where it didn't go back right, or it didn't land right. Then you go back and you fix it, or you go back and apologize. And that's why you can't be arrogant in the process. So I'm just like, so, and I think, yeah, the spirit can definitely work on you when you're arrogant, because now you isolated. You ain't got nothing protecting you. At the same time, you ain't even protecting your own self. You just out there thinking that you're the one. And now it's like anybody can hype you up to make you think you're the one and get you jump off that mountain thinking that it's all safe. Ain't nobody catching you. So yeah, he's in there.
I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna ask what I think is the final question here too. So to follow up with that, after he got in the dispute with his wife, I guess they're reporting that he went on a barrage of tweets, I guess, towards his mother-in-law. And I guess to follow that up, I want to ask, do you think using social media to air out your grievances is a useful tool or a bad idea? You know, we talked about when it comes to mental health, sometimes we're saying to talk to someone else can sometimes be beneficial. I guess I'm going to go to you, Meng Lingo. I'm going to go to you first. Do you believe using the tool of social media, we know the president loves to do that. Is that a good tool to use to get out what you need to get off your chest, or?
I think it can both work for you and it can work against you. Like a lot of those kind of like these type of conversations are kind of relative to the way LJ said it. It's like, yeah, if you need to vent, a positive way to vent is the right effect, as opposed to being destructive to yourself or to your others. So being able to express it via text is a great way to get it off your chest and put it out there. But with that being said, that also can be used against you, because now you give an open platform for people that don't have no feelings, no filter, and no care, no feelings, to have their own personal opinion about what you're saying. And it can also be used against you in the court of mental health. So now when they're trying to get you committed to these particular facilities that you don't want to go to, they can go back to these tweets that you don't wait on your big rant for and say, this is why we're here. So it can be a yin and yang to that particular situation when it comes to mental health, because it can be very positive, and it also can be used against you in a negative way. So I think it probably is just depending on how you actually use it. Now, I'm not one to go on Facebook or go on Instagram or Twitter and do the real ranting thing, but I mean, putting out a stat or writing something that addresses a situation that might be involving you that you're not involving yourself in is a great way to be positive, get your point across, and, you know what I'm saying, not sit there and have to deal with it by yourself, because you never know if that's a tipping point for a particular person. This one situation can be that one situation, that straw that breaks the camel's back, so to speak. So yeah, it can be used positively, but at the same time, with all the positivity that can come from having other opinions and having people give you positive feedback, there's also a negative that can come with that as well.
Okay. LJ, I'm going to get your point on that. Do you see social media as a good tool to use to get some things off your chest?
Yeah, I you know, a lot main lingo hit on a lot of good solid points there in regards to being, you know, the effects, the positive and negative effects of putting things on social media. Some wisdom that I had gotten a long time ago, probably about 2-3 years ago, from a black principal with regards to how I project myself as a professional online, was just like what Dalo was saying, even is asking myself with wisdom, what is my intent or motive with regards to how I'm expressing myself online, and really being able to take a step back in wisdom and ask myself, what is the purpose? What is the purpose of me expressing myself like this? And who is this going? What audience am I trying to reach when I'm expressing things like this? So that being said, I think that it can be useful. I think it can also be detrimental. Heck, people have lost their jobs from posting their opinion
Right?
online. They've lost their livelihood. In Kanye West's circumstance, however, him expressing himself only makes him richer. My personal opinion.
There's nothing really wrong. There's nothing negative.
True.
Huh? Yeah, it's like for him, there's that saying that there's no such thing as bad publicity.
I hear what you're saying.
He is drawing attention to himself, which is really at the end of the day, in a very archaic sense, that is his motive. Is to draw attention to himself.
That's exactly his brand.
In a very caveman-like thinking pattern, his ulterior motive is to draw attention to himself, which helps increase his value, which he's cognizant of, that if people are paying attention to me, that means I have the potential for influence. So he may be talking crazy, but there's things that are lingering in the back. There's things that are lingering in the back of his head where he's like, no, I am expressing my influence. Is an expression of my influence, and he's successful at it.
Right?
Yeah, that's his brand.
Odalo,
yes,
we're gonna give you the final word on that one.
Okay.
Do you believe that getting things off your chest on social media can be of benefit?
Oh man, see, for Kanye, that's his brand, so it works for him. And people that have that brand, it works for them. But it's not for everybody. And you gotta be, and you gotta have thick skin if that's the route you're gonna go. Because it's like, I always look at it like when I go onto a YouTube video and something, I go straight to the trolls. I go straight to the comment section and I look for the trolls to see. I'm looking to laugh, man, and I'm looking to see, all right, especially on serious builds, especially on a serious video. I'm like, all right, who's gonna go in? Who's gonna go there? Who's gonna go there? And I'm gonna check the knowledge and the seriousness, but I just gotta see who's going there, And then I'm gonna watch it, right? And me myself, I've done a video before, like, and express how I felt one time. And man, the trolls ate me up. And I said, man, okay, I can't go through this anymore. And they kind of checked me. And they not checked me in like a negative way, like, yo, I'm going to come get you. No, but they helped me realize and do it exactly what Larry was talking about. What is my intent? And after I went through that situation with them, like, because it was with my channel. And it was like, and I was really pushing. I was doing too much. And it was really on me. And they helped me to see it. And I was like, okay, you're right. I was doing too much, and I apologize. Y'all right, and I can't correct. And we were good from there. You know what I'm saying? I realized not to do that again. But I thought about it moving forward. What is my intention? What is my agenda? What do I want to do with this? You know what I mean? And once I made up my mind on that, I try to keep all my posts on that. You know what I mean? And it's like anything that I'm going through like that, okay, I'll say it artistically and creatively in a photo or in a post or in a short video. It might even be a clip from a movie that I'll just take it from, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, I'm going to do it some kind of creative way where it's like not me just venting myself out there like that, but try to express it creatively. So it's like, it can be at least, it can be received somehow or at the very least. But if I'm going to express something real to me and deep to me, I'm going to talk that to my friends. I'm going to talk that to my family. I'm going to talk that to even a stranger on the street. I'll talk it to a stranger, but I'm going to do it in the flesh, not online. I just need that. I need that bounce back. At the same time, I need to look in somebody's eyes and be like, okay, are they feeling me or are they not feeling me? Because I'm not going to waste no words with nobody that's not a believer in me. I'm not going to waste no energy with nobody that ain't believing in me already to begin with. Like, that doesn't have faith in me, that ain't got love for me, that ain't got confidence in me, that be like, okay, Dalo, that can rebuild, like, or even give me something positive back to help me rebuild. Like, if I don't see that in them. And a lot of times, like, you can feel it. And if you can't feel it, you're going to feel it. You're going to find out. And then you're going to be like, all right, I ain't going to do that again. So it's, sometimes you got to make your errors. But it can go either way. But if that's your brand, do it. But for most folks, I would say don't do it. I would say don't do it. Don't do it.
With that being said, we'd love to hear all the comments from all of you.
Yes.
Feel free to leave your comments on the bottom. But I want to thank
my guests.
I
want to do this again, man.
Most definitely. I want to thank my guests that came on today. We got the homie LJ. LJ, let them know where they can find you, homie.
Yeah, I got my personal brand. Donald's got his brand out there. I see Main Lingo's got his brand out there. My brand is J4BG Family. You can follow me at www.j4bg.org if you want to find out what I'm doing currently. Primarily providing therapeutic mental health services in the Iowa community. Right now I'm doing it online, so if you're like in Kathmandu in Iowa, I can probably assist you. So that's my thing right now. So
Okay. The homie Odalo.
Yep.
Let them know where they can find you, homie.
www.freeingtheminds.com. Also Freeing the Minds on YouTube, as well as Freeing the Minds on Instagram, as well as on Facebook, Freeing the Minds.
Okay,
Yep.
we thank you
Freeing
for
the
joining.
Minds.
Also, the homie Main Lingo, let them know where they can find you.
Oh yeah, check me out on Instagram at Baylingo414, New Sound Entertainment, Facebook same, Instagram, everything's all the same, man. Come holla at me.
Okay. Anybody have any projects, anything that they want to introduce at this time?
Yeah, just stay tuned to the website, www.freeingtheminds.com. Make sure you check out YouTube. We're doing videos regularly, a lot of art, a lot of creativity, as well as mindfulness and positivity, man. So it's ultimately just a lot of love there, man. So make sure you stay tuned to that.
Okay. Well, we got a lot of talent in this room, and I appreciate everybody for joining in and listening. Like the homie Kanye said, Sway, we ain't got all the answers. We ain't got all the answers. You ain't got all the answers, Sway.
You ain't got that answer,
Thank you for having me on here, Missile.
Well, most definitely.
Man.
We appreciate
really
all of you.
This, man.
Thank you. Thank you, all my guests. Thank you, all of you, for joining in and paying attention, listening. We appreciate you so much. From all of y'all, this is the homie Mizzle Jizzle, Radio 22, Talk 22. And we out. Peace.
Love.
Man, let go.